It's Arcade Obliquely time. Nekobun here, and today we're going to talk a little about EA and their history, since that is what a lot of people think of first with Trip Hawkins. He may have, I don't know, talked about it for a good chunk of the interview. Some of their practices haven't been the greatest. They've been infamous with a lot of the nastier issues in gaming, especially involving money for online passes and microtransactions, and most recently loot boxes. Yeah, about that. None of that is Trip Hawkins' fault. Trip Hawkins left Electronic Arts all the way back in 1991, so I would say that probably absolves him of most of the company's sins, if not all of them. When he left, he handed leadership over to Larry Probst, who was, according to an interview carried by Polygon, their sales guy at the time. And yeah, some of the things that would help EA down the line sort of started under Probst. It's when they started acquiring more companies. Not that quickly at the time, but it was sort of his idea. Probst kind of shot his company in the foot by refusing to produce any M-rated games until System Shock, I think, after the numbers showed that might have been a bad idea. But Probst has been pretty much on top, or towards the top, for a very, very long time. He came from business background, too. Johnson & Johnson Clorox, you might have heard of them. Those were his prior credits before coming into games through Activision and then getting picked up by EA as VP of Sales in '86. Also under Probst was a bit of a screw job of 3DO by EA. Originally, EA had promised a fair amount of third-party titles on the 3DO to help them ride Trip Hawkins' initial momentum and, have a good starting platform for this system that was supposed to help developers and publishers. Instead, they decided to throw with PlayStation, walked back their support of the 3DO quite a bit, and basically the whole move, again from the Polygon interview, is cited as a stab in the back. Now, the biggest batch of expansion and some of the worst practices wouldn't really pick up until John Riccitiello took over as head of EA. Some of the best practices, too. Credit where credit is due. A lot of the studios that have been picked up by Electronic Arts over the years, still in existence, maybe renamed, but they don't shutter that often. Bullfrog and Maxis, more recently, are the two biggest company names you could probably think of as having been shuttered by EA, but a lot of other big names still going. You've got DreamWorks Interactive is under EA's wing. Criterion Software, who I wish would get another Burnout game. They've been doing nice with Need for Speed games, but it's not quite the same. Even with the Burnout Paradise remaster out there, hopefully they get Burnout Paradise onto the Switch, so the buzz and hype and talk about that will continue, and we might get a follow-up or a new entry in that series. Headgate Studios, PopCap. I forgot they bought PopCap. Yeah, so they're doing okay with keeping stuff open. Yeah, but again, there's the whole online pass thing back in the days of like Dead Space 2 and a lot of other stuff. There were microtransactions, which basically killed Dead Space 3 and the rest of the future of the Dead Space franchise. You might be able to tell that I'm talking through my teeth, and I'm a little upset about that one. And within weeks, if not days of this going up, the whole loot box thing that almost completely tanked Star Wars Battlefront 2, they're back in there now, or whatever microtransactions they were doing. Reintroduced. Cool. Great. So yeah, they've gotten better. Like I think 2014 on, things cleaned up a bit. But yeah, it's definitely drifted a long way from where Trip Hawkins pictured things originally, and I kind of wish he had stayed at the helm a lot longer. As for Trip himself, I kind of regret to inform you that Trip Hawkins is Digital Chocolate, the mobile game company that also did Tower Bloxx, as you've seen in the background for most of this. They kind of sold off their biggest games to Rockyu back in 2014, and at least, that kept the developers working, but they're basically defunct now. So, post Digital Chocolate, Trip Hawkins is still working. He has been focused more on social and educational development games for kids with a startup called If You Can. And in 2016, Trip became a professor of practice in the technology management program at the University of California, Santa Barbara. So he's doing okay. And that's all I got for the Trip Hawkins episode. I don't know if these are going to keep turning into history deep dives, but that's just kind of what happens. My whole praxis right now is rabbit hole. I'm learning stuff, and hopefully you're learning stuff too. If you if there are any aspects or certain things that you'd like me to keep going down, by all means, let me know in the comments. And hopefully I'm keeping your attention for the 10 to 15 minutes these usually last. See you around. Nekobun out.
Time to take you into Skate or Die to check out the action. It begins right here on the street. And to the beat of the skateboard, they'll move right along, grabbing as much as they can. A taco or two, a burger and fries. That's the prize, and that's what you get for winning at Skate or Die 2. Lifeline looking good, plenty of ammo to grab in Skate or Die 2. Now he's taking the top.